Hey, good evening, Bruce Lim. What's up?
Ito na pala tayo.
Yes.
What
Should
up,
be live
Bruce?
right now.
Father Bruce, what up?
Hot evening tomorrow.
Umulan na sa amin. Doc
Yeah.
G.
So that's just you, my guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's gonna come soon because it can't just rain in a few places in Metro Manila.
Yeah.
Tapos di kasama yung iba.
Yeah.
Hindi,
It's raining
darating
here
din yan.
now.
Manalig ka, Glendale.
Have faith.
What up, Emil? Who is not here in the show, as you can see, because he's commenting in the chat.
Hey, Uncle Al, hello. Watching on YouTube.
Yeah. God.
At least umulan na. So,
it'll
be a few degrees lower. Sana, fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully, right? I felt the wind, so feeling ko ba bagyo.
Actually, lumabas ako kanina ng bahay. It was a little warmer. It was a little cooler.
Yeah, diba?
So it was significant.
Ninong Mac, what up?
What's up, Mac?
Uy, si Mac nakascore na sa quiz night. Yeah!
Oh.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, sir.
The streak is over.
He finished the story.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Good job, Mac.
Now naghahanap na siya ng makakampi for next year. So. para manalo naman
Isang
siya.
taon niya yan hahanapin yung kanyang stable.
Oo. Yan yung WrestleMania 14 eh. What up, Ina?
Hello, Ina.
Hello, Ina. Yeah, Bruce. It sucks, but what are you gonna do?
It is what it is.
Sabi nga nila, bilog ang bola.
Game 2 pa lang naman. And before any Heat fans start talking shit, maglaro muna si Jimmy Butler. Gusto ko yung wala si Emil pero very active participant siya sa chat.
Oh yeah, he knows the game. He knows.
He wanted to be here. To be fair, he wants to be here.
Just the
other,
six-man
other
things.
Obligations. Oh, shut up.
Who's ready for story time?
What's going on? This is Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed.
Let me talk to him.
Hello, WWE Universe in the Philippines. This is Charlotte.
Hey
everyone, this is Jeff Cobb.
I have to finish the story.
We are pretty deadly. Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
Run!
Bang! The sniper is shooting you down. This is TMDK's Robbie Eagles.
Hey, this is the Cosmic Cactus, Paul London.
Hello, my name is Ilya Dragunov, the Czar, the NXT Champion, and you're listening to...
And you're listening to...
And you're listening... And you are listening...
And you're listening
to the Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
To the Wrestling Podcast. Yeah.
Watching and listening to the longest running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast. This is the Wrestling Podcast. Stancy, Romoran, and Chino Liao checking in. And I think this is the week of all weeks na pinaka-appropriate yung whoop that trick na stinger in our intro, because we are celebrating Trick Willie becoming NXT champion finally, among so many other things that happened this week in wrestling. But first, how are you, Rowan, Chino, given na finally umulan na sa mga bahay natin?
Oh, very refreshed. Very relieved. Oh my God, ang init the past few weeks. But grateful na nabasa na ng ulan ang dry country natin. So very happy about that improvement.
Yeah, the heat has been unbearable, guys. It's really oppressive. Kaya I hope that you guys have been hydrating and training indoors kung train kayo. Kung yung mga may gym na aircon, swerte kayo. Pero yung mga bakal gym na hindi the aircon, ingat-ingatan nyo sarili nyo kasi mainit talaga until we don't know how long the rain will last.
Yeah, climate change is real, man. It really is. So, kung meron pa rin dyan mga climate change deniers, good luck. Good luck living your life. Kasi, tangina, sobrang init. All right, some business at hand. We got to say thanks to all of our friends and partners who were part of Wrestling Quiz Night, which took place nung Saturday, 420. So, yan yung picture namin sa Hobby Stadium. Pretty big crowd, pretty good crowd to celebrate 420 and get high with us on wrestling knowledge as we celebrated 10 years of the Wrestling Podcast. Thank you to our friends Hobby Dainsy, Dwayne Manalastas of Everybody's Toys and Collectibles, Hobby Stadium as well, to Mr. Stephen Go and the rest of his partners who generously hosted us and also provided some prizes. And we got to congratulate our new grand champions of Wrestling Quiz Night, Dino and Domino. They are legit twins and they unseated Dr. G. Ayan, yung picture na Dino and Domino nasa gitna namin. Ayan, they unseated
like
Dr. G and took the championship.
Congratulations to them. I actually saw them walk in nung event. I had to go right away. I had other obligations to stand up, but glad that they came and just took home the big one. Pwede nilang paghatian si Mommy or the beach towel of Rhea Ripley, among other things. So sana na-enjoy nila yung prize pack na yan. Also, happy birthday to Stephen Go of Hobby Stadium. He celebrated his birthday over the weekend. So happy birthday, Stephen.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Stephen.
Hobby Stadium.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Para sa mga wala dun sa quiz night, na miss nyo rin yung halftime intermission natin na si Rowan ASH sumayaw ng Big Pressure.
We have video, and it's a really good video as well. Napansin ni Prince Nana.
Yeah. Pero syempre, iba pa rin yung nandun talaga yung mga listeners natin. They actually popped and they cheered for Rowan. So, Rowan getting one of the few face pops of the evening.
Yun talaga yung binayaran nila sa ticket eh. Chicken skin at sumayaw si Rowan. The prize is a consolation for the winner.
Oh. The real prizes are the friends we made along the way, diba? Parang the real quiz night. It's also the friends we made along the way. So, we're glad to have met some of our listeners. Some of them mga returning faces, some of them brand new faces. So, it's always nice when we get to have get-togethers like these and that we get to interact with you in the real world. So, thank you so much to everybody who showed up and joined us for Wrestling Quiz Night. All right, let's talk about Patreon really quickly, because if you are a Wrestling Podcast patron, you get to be part of so many benefits. Among them, yung mga pasabay program natin, you get the preferential rates. You also get to be part of our watch parties that we hold for certain PLEs. And as of this year, we are now also providing tables for our patrons sa ating mga viewing parties as well as discounted tickets to Wrestling Podcast events. So if you want all of that good stuff and then some, then join our growing community over at patreon.com/wrestling podcast. The link is on your ticker below. Nasa comments din nilagay ni Emil. Now, let's get to some happy row noises.
Yun. Last TV, yo. Whoop that trick. I saw the big moment. It's also live on YouTube, but the big moment where Trick Willie wins his NXT Championship, which we'll be talking about in a bit. I saw that on Blast TV because Blast TV has WWE for free. Syempre, for Converge and Globe at Home subscribers, but for everyone else, it is 179 pesos a month. Guys, super sulit. Super mura. People are asking me, oh, where can I watch WWE? Where can I watch Raw? Where can I watch NXT? We're going to watch the draft coming up this weekend, up until Monday or Tuesday morning, our time. Here is where it is. Blast TV, app.blasttv.ph. It's going to be a while before we get Netflix, guys, before we get WWE on Netflix. So until that happens next year, Blast TV is where it's at. And let them know that the wrestling fans have found it and are paying for Blast TV, because otherwise, baka mawala yan before Netflix even comes in. So go check that out, app.blasttv.ph.
All right. Let's get to some wrestling talk, and we're going to go all the way to Uganda, where soft ground wrestling has been making some noise over the last few weeks. So it's made so much noise that they already have an article about them on the Washington Post. And it's also made so much noise to the point. Sorry, go Chino.
Have you ever thought in the 10 years that you've been doing this podcast that we'd ever talk about Ugandan wrestling?
Hell no. Hell no.
Definitely not.
But
Definitely
here we are.
not.
Here we are, 10 years later. We're talking about wrestling in Uganda, which apparently exists. And it's gotten the attention of one Will Ospreay, who has donated money so that these Ugandan wrestlers can actually have a ring. Kasi dito sila nagre-wrestling, sa lupa, sa putek, diba? So it's not good. It's definitely not safe. Definitely not hygienic. So Will Ospreay sent them some money for them to build the ring. And now, sina Mason Madden and Mansoor, or MXM, the former Maximum male models, they've also been talking about soft ground wrestling on their social media. They've produced merch na parang collab with soft ground wrestling to help raise funds. Kasi gusto naman nila na yung mga tao sa Uganda makanood ng mga shows nila, because san mang barrio or area yung soft ground wrestling, puro sila lang din ng mga trainees and students and wrestlers. Yan lang din yung crowd. So now MXM, they want actual Ugandan fans to watch soft ground wrestling, and that's what they're raising money for. And this is literally a grassroots type of deal.
Okay, there's grass right there. There's grass right behind them. So it's a literal grassroots.
No, here's the thing about soft ground wrestling. I first saw them like last year. Yata, kasi they were making the rounds. They were getting quite viral. Akala ko joke lang, diba? Akala ko these were just guys who were rehearsing spots and then just doing them in a backyard style. But yes, it's still a backyard style. Pero legit pala yung training nila. Legit in a manner of speaking na it's not like super formal training, but they're able to pull off the moves. I don't know if they have the basics down pat, because it's not a ring. It's literally a ground. And there are basics that you can't do anywhere else other than a ring or mat, diba? So, iba talaga siya. But they are actually pretty serious. They know how to do the moves. They know how to do sequences. And they are legit enough to get a lot of people over. Get international wrestlers, actually formally trained wrestlers, to go there and work with them. And goes to show you all that's needed for support is actual legit poverty. We try to, I mean, we would have loved that kind of support here in the Philippines 10 years ago, diba? But we had a ring, so we were not that desperate enough. So,
apparently may mas lalala pa pala dun sa boxing ring that the OGs bumped in. That, they were getting concussions on a weekly basis. May mas malala pa dun.
Man,
exactly.
Nobody is Africa poor except for Africa. That's it. That's just the thing you learn here. It's like extremist na to. But jokes aside, man, I'm glad that they're getting the help that they needed. Kasi 'di ba kahit kayo, 'di ba? Sinabi niyo naman din yung starts nyo in the boxing ring in the training center in the early days of the wrestling industry here, and malala na yun, tapos may mas lalala pa, which is the actual ground, so props to them for getting that money, and hopefully it helps them build the scene out there, kasi the global reach of the wrestling scene right now, especially in the WWE, is so much bigger now. Diba? Nag-shows na sila sa Europe, mag-shows na sila in Scotland, and in France, and in Germany. So who's to say na hindi sila umabot ng Africa sooner or later?
Yeah. It's gotten to a point where Sanjuki the Bull, who's one of the wrestlers of Soft Ground Wrestling, has openly challenged Will Ospreay on social media to an interpromotional match. Now, I have no idea kung meron ba itong patutunguhan, but it is out there and there are articles about it, so at least it's made some noise.
If I were Tony Khan, I'd franchise the shit out of Soft Ground Wrestling. Fund that shit. Gawin mo NXT nyo. NXT Performance
Africa.
Center. Ring of Honor Africa, gano'n, no? Ring of Honor.
Elevation. Dark Elevation Africa.
Yeah. legit though. They are athletic. They have a feel for the athletics required for pro wrestling, and they just need actual training. Yeah.
Yeah, there is wrestling, amateur wrestling, athletic wrestling in Africa. Napanood ko yan sa Netflix dun sa Fight Camp series. It's a good series if you guys are into other martial arts. So there is a background for it there, especially in Uganda. So hindi naman din siya malayong leap talaga.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, good on them. Good on Soft Ground Wrestling, man. Nakakainggit, like Rose said, that these Ugandan boys and girls are getting the support we wish we could have had back in 2014. But hey, if it means another burgeoning wrestling scene gets closer to their dreams becoming a reality, then good for them. And we can't wait to see kung saan ba pupunta tong Soft Ground Wrestling na to.
Lord White looks like a dick.
Yeah, madami pa naman bukid sa Pilipinas eh. So baka may gusto mag-start ng wrestling summer camp sa probinsya. Why not? Diba?
Soft Ground Wrestling Summer Camp.
Yeah.
Hindi. Soft Ground Wrestling Etivac, gagi. All right. Let's go to AEW since we already mentioned Tony Khan. One of the big events from Dynamite this week was Jack Perry and the Elite attacking Tony Khan on screen, and it seems like they're really capitalizing on the narrative coming out of the CM Punk backstage incident nung All In London. So, what do you guys think of how it happened? Like, what were your instant reactions when you saw this main event segment on Dynamite?
Sige, Gina, you go first.
Okay. First of all, I think that entire time TK was taking the Meltzer driver right there, he was smiling. Like the mark that he is. So feeling ko idea niya yan, finish niya yan sa Young Bucks. But I also feel it's a little weird kasi I saw some notes natin for the show that this might be the start of AEW's Attitude Era, and I have thoughts about that being an Attitude Era fan stand here even. I feel like kung yung Attitude Era kasi nag-start yan from a feeling of discontent, diba? Yung feeling nung time na yun na fight the power and hindi namin gusto yung mga namumuno. So therefore, D-Generation X, therefore New World Order, therefore all these other groups that came from that era, diba? They villainized the people in power and gave power back to the people that were misunderstood and oppressed. But here, the person in power, i.e. Tony Khan, is supposedly the one being made to look good kasi siya yung inupakan itong other guys, which is, i.e. the Elite. So I don't know if it sits right with me to be able to cheer for the person in power being made to look like the person na kawawa. Diba? End of the day, he's still the boss. He still has the money. He still brings in the funds here. So, hindi ko alam kung gaano ba talaga siya kakawawa. Yes, inupakan siya. But then he can also just fire all of them. Diba? Dadating naman din sa point na ganyan yun. So, ano ano yung exact goal nila dito sa storyline nito is the real question that I have after tonight, after this morning's episode.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I kind of agree. After the shock value kind of faded, like, okay, oh nice, TK took a bump, and got himself involved in the story. And I'm sure he's not gonna do a Vince McMahon and actually wrestle a match, diba? Pero the fact that he was able, or he was willing to get physically involved in a story, goes to show, okay, he's willing to take some risks. Na, he's willing to make himself look stupid, look weak. He's willing to piss his father off and make him think that he's in
Napalabas si
danger.
Shahid Khan.
Oh.
But I don't know yet how this all makes sense. Now, okay, heels like the Elite, okay, they don't need logic, diba? They can just be chaotic, whatever, right? And they can just do whatever they want. Pero di ko pa gets sa ngayon ano yung connect ng lahat. Like, for one thing, TK is anti-punk at this point, right? And the Elite is anti-punk, and Jack Perry is anti-punk. So why is the Elite fucking over Tony Khan unless may power play at work? And there is a way to put it all together. And I'm probably just getting ahead of myself here. Pero the more I see it, the reason why I said it was Attitude Era-esque is because parang sa ngayon, talagang shock value muna yung short-term goal for this. And I hope they have something they're actually cooking here. I hope that there is a story that na long form na talagang binabalak. Pero sa ngayon, it's nice, but I do want to see the follow-up. I do want to see it play out as well.
Mm-hmm. The NFL draft is in a few hours after we're recording this. So, what would be worse? TK showing up to the NFL draft with a neck brace, or a former Philippine president showing up in a neck brace?
Yeah, but it's possible. If he wants to sell that shit, he should come in a neck brace. Parang, okay.
Actually, maganda yun. I would actually pop if I saw that. Yeah.
Na ESPN naman yung spot eh. Na ESPN naman yung segment na yun eh. So everyone knows that, the owner, or owner, ano ba siya? The GM, I don't know. The official of the Jacksonville Jaguars got pile driven last night. So I don't see why he shouldn't sell the neck.
I have a feeling he will. Though.
Say what's up to a friend of mine, Bravo 6, Paolo Barcelon. Thank you so much for joining us here on the pod. All right, let's ask one more question and then we'll go take a quick break right here. Itong gulo with TK and the Elite and Jack Perry, is it overshadowing Swerve's shine since he's the new world champion and he was nowhere near the main event of Dynamite?
That's a good question. I think yes. Kasi dapat yung attention na sa kanya, di ba? It's history making. Right? He's the first African American to hold that title. Right? It's also his first major title in any of the organizations he's been a part of. So malaking bagay yan for Swerve and for AEW, and I feel like they could have capitalized on it a lot better. I liked his match against Kyle Fletcher. I really enjoyed it. But I also get why they had to put the focus back or focus on the Bucks again. Hindi ko expect na ganyan yung mangyayari. Diba? But the Jack Perry appearance on Dynasty also wasn't a small matter. Diba? So, hindi ko expect na lalabas si Jack Perry ng Dynasty, and for that to happen, for him to be involved with this new Elite is also a noteworthy point that needs addressing. So I think yung case Swerve was overshadowed, but it's a much longer play for Swerve. It's not like he's going to be a transitional champion. At least I hope not. Kasi mas malaki yung impact ng title niya in the larger picture of AEW.
Yeah, I put this here kasi talagang okay, we're back to putting the focus on TK, the Young Bucks, The whole CM Punk thing, the whole All In thing, Jack Perry, diba? That's a bigger thing. That's the bigger thing that people want to hear about because it's the real life backstage drama. And then feeling ko nasasapawan si Swerve. And now I feel like, okay, we can do the Swerve title change now, but that's only because we have the bigger story here with everyone involved in the all in brawl, diba? So I hope that they find a way to make Swerve a big deal, but I don't see that happening now kasi wala, ito na, the genie's out of the bottle now. We have this big story, and now people are talking about TK taking a bump and not Swerve being world champ anymore, and I feel bad about that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's take a break and talk about the storytelling ng AEW, especially the fan discourse surrounding the supposed lack of need for storytelling kasi may great in-ring action naman. But first, let's hear from our other kapodcasts right here on the Pod Network.
Taking to friends who went to quiz night last week on weekend and made a new friend. As in, he joined the game with someone that he met sa elevator ng building.
Wild.
So
Okay.
yeah,
No,
legit,
see,
man.
that's funny because when he walked in, diba, nandun pa ako, I thought he was actually with the guy, like friends to sila beforehand.
Yeah. So a lot of people thought that they were friends already, but turns out they met sa elevator, and the guy didn't know that much, I believe. Lalo na ng Philippine wrestling part. So
Look at you,
it's
friends.
nice. Look at you, friend. Make it friends. Diba? That's what the wrestling podcast does. We bring people together.
True podcast is the friends we make along the way.
Yes.
Yep. Right. Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson, they had what many people are already calling match of the year, diba? That spot that they had with the Busaiku and the Oz Cutter. People are just sharing the GIFs endlessly. But when you really think about it, there wasn't much of a story heading into this match. I mean, sure, they did set it up. They had a couple of promos here and there, but it wasn't really a blood feud. It was really just billed as an absolute dream match, as Justin Roberts announced it. So, what do you think about yung mga AEW fans na yung ina-argue nila is, hindi, okay lang, I don't care about story, basta 7-star match all the way.
Yeah, sorry, I put this point in kasi I was the one, as usual, nagbabarda ako sa threads and Twitter. Threads more so because there's just a lot of rage bait over there. But they show me because of the pro AEW tweets or pro AEW posts. And a lot of people are saying that, okay, we came here for the great action, and they delivered the great action. So therefore, ergo, we don't need your story. We don't need your fucking story. You can take that story and, keep it in WWE and whatever. We just need the good action. But it's funny because those two things are not mutually exclusive. Diba? Just because you have good in-ring action doesn't mean you shouldn't have a good story, and vice versa, diba? And I feel like it's a bad faith move kasi, okay, granted, a lot of AEW fans turned to AEW nung una kasi they were tired of the melodrama, the cheesy writing, the bad TV writing of Vince era WWE. And in some ways, meron pa rin nakikitang hindi gusto yun kasi it's still a lot of talking, a lot of drama, a lot of stuff that, isn't really as good as your other TV shows that have dedicated Hollywood writers behind them. And they just want wrestling. They just want good wrestling. And I understand that. I'm also that kind of wrestling fan. But at the same time, even the boss of AEW understands the need for storytelling. Because otherwise, why was there actual storytelling in some other parts of the show? Like, why is there a huge investment for Swerve going up against Samoa Joe? And fighting for his first world championship, to be the first black AEW world champion, diba? Bakit may emotional investment sa ganun? Why is there a story beat about Will Ospreay regretting the move that he used to finish off Bryan Danielson, diba? There are things in there that show that you need a story. You can't just discard the story. And if you're listening to this and you feel like, okay, I don't need this shit, you do, because at some point, you will run out of reasons to care. Even though your primary reason to care is, okay, this wrestler is good, this wrestler is also good, I want to see them wrestle a good match, diba? But I understand that if you don't like the idea of storytelling, because you've been burned by bad writing during Vince's time, but you cannot remove that, because even your boss understands that we need this. Otherwise, the whole ending to Dynamite kanina wouldn't have happened. We would have just ended on Mox versus Hobbs, right? So there's my rant, and I know some people won't listen to this. Some people will just I understand that you want the good action. That's totally fine. You want work rate. That's totally fine. I just hope that you don't discard the idea of the need for storytelling altogether.
Ako kasi, as somebody who got into wrestling for the story,
Yeah.
mas na-appreciate ko yung value of the narrative structure of wrestling than the actual athletic element. Unang-una, hindi naman ako athletic talaga. So, the fact that anybody can do whatever they do in the ring is pretty amazing to me. Kahit basic bump lang yan. Maganda na sa akin yan. But what I do appreciate about the story is how the action is also driven by the story, and the story is also driven by the action. Tama naman din yung sinabi ni Ro, diba, na correlated sila. They're not mutually exclusive. Diba? Because nagkakaroon ng grudge matches sa wrestling because of the story. Diba? Nagkakaroon din ng stories after the matches because of the action in the ring. Diba? Dinaya si ganito. Heel victory by this guy leads to a longer feud. Diba? Or a breakup of a tag team leads to this WrestleMania main event in the future. Diba? All these things, they're all actually related. And I think wrestling is unique in that sense that it's the only sport where the story is actually as important as the effect or the final result of the match. Diba? Kasi doon siya nagpa-play in eh. Doon nagbe-base yung ganda ng product both on the story and on the action itself. So I really agree that story is just as important, if not more so, than the action inside the ring.
Tsaka, there have been so many times that I've said...
Sige, go.
Sorry, before you start. And there are so many times nung panahon ni Vince that I've said in a review that the story was shit, but the match was good. So there's that. But I don't want to have to say that anymore. I especially don't want to have to say that for AEW, who was supposed to fix yung mga ganitong issues nung panahon ni Vince, diba? So that's not a flex, the story is shit, but the match makes up for it. That's not a flex. That's the wrestlers doing what they're supposed to do. And it's not just the wrestlers who are out there tasked to do a good job of delivering content, diba? Trabaho din ng writers or ng booker na bigyan sila ng magandang kwento, because you can only make up for bad writing through the good wrestling so many times, diba? Before people start to tune out. And I feel like a lot of AEW fans take that for granted, kasi TK is so much is easily able to cater to them with the work rate stuff, the super indie stuff. Kaya it's not a flex. I don't want to have to say that for AEW. It has to be fixed. It's something that has to be fixed.
Yeah, the point I was going to try to add lang to it is that some of AEW's greatest hits are actually stories that were well told over periods of time. For example, the rise of Hangman Adam Page. Like, you don't get to Hangman Page becoming world champion without him being the anxious millennial cowboy who pushed away all of his friends. But that was an actual well-told story. Or MJF and Adam Cole becoming friends and becoming a tag team. Diba? There was barely any work rate matches during that run because it was all about telling the story of MJF and Adam Cole learning to work through their differences. So, those are just two of yung mga signature moments of AEW throughout its 5-year run so far. And they were more well-told stories than actual 7-star bangers.
Yep. And yeah, again, TK understands the need for stories. He just doesn't do them well unless yung best creative minds ng wrestlers niya are helping him do that.
Yep.
All right. If everybody's good with this point, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll hop on over to WWE. We'll talk about Solo's bloodline, Trick Williams, and much more. But first, a quick word from our other podcasts right here on the Pod Network. All right, let's hop on over to WWE and talk about the bloodline. So, Solo's bloodline, very different from Roman Reigns' bloodline in quite a few ways. For starters, Solo wears actual suits and he wears his bling, diba? It's a combination, I guess, of Paul Heyman and how his brothers, the Usos, would dress. Roman Reigns would always be in athleisure, diba? He would be in a hoodie and some track pants and some Jordans. Yun yung laging suot ni Roman Reigns. Solo wears his clothes like a gangster. And then he attacks right in your face, as opposed to Roman Reigns who would operate in the shadows. This is actually a great point of comparison that I saw on Reddit. Na, yung nga, no, this is how Solo is trying to separate himself from Roman Reigns. And then you also have the fact na si Solo, he appears to be the more unhinged one. I mean, like, we kind of got a sense of it already because that was the role he was supposed to play as the enforcer. But now na he's kind of taken the bloodline by the horns as its leader kasi siya yung nandyan, mas unhinged pa siya kesa kay Roman Reigns. And Tama Tonga, being his MFT, is just really feeding into it.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I'm still not accustomed to seeing Solo be in a leadership position at this point. Kasi like yes, tama siya yung nandyan, but he started out as the muscle for the bloodline, right? And in that sense, okay siya sa akin panoorin, but to give him more responsibility to parang uphold what is left of the bloodline. It's very similar to asking one of your lesser employees to take care of a failing business. You know what I mean? Like parang, diba, parang hindi siya management level officer. Diba? Parang siya yung, sabihin natin, siya yung custodian ng building. Tas sinusugod na kayo ng what do you call this, the Philippine Stock Exchange because they're shutting you down, right? And as a CEO, since you're not in control anymore, binigay mo yung susi dun sa custodian. O, ikaw na bahala. That's what it feels like to me. Because it doesn't hit as heavy as the original bloodline, which I guess has overstayed its welcome as well. But this to me feels sort of bloodline light. Like, yes, maatake siya, yes, but there's no direction. And that's what I appreciated about the original bloodline. Diba? Roman Reigns formed the bloodline because he wanted to bring himself and hold himself up to a higher standard. Diba? Bring his family around him under one goal. And that goal was for him to be champion and remain champion for however long his reign was. Diba? 1,000+ days or whatever. Right? Si Solo parang medyo inuupakan na lang yung lahat eh. Tapos wala po siyang declaration of intent other than, of course, bringing Tama Tonga into the mix. So it's still a little murky for me.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. My issue with this is I get yung need for a Solo faction, diba? But I felt like they rushed it. And I know that this was because they needed to debut Tama Tonga already after WrestleMania. Pero sa akin kasi, I felt like, okay, wala na si Roman, he got defeated ng WrestleMania. And all of a sudden, there's a leadership vacuum. And then all of a sudden, Solo was the guy to fill that vacuum. I get that he got rid of Jimmy, but I feel like this, if they were so committed to telling a long-term story, dapat, I felt like they should have spent a month um, having Jimmy and Solo and Heyman be introspective with each other and saying, "Okay, what are we gonna do? Roman lost. Well, he is nowhere to be found. He's probably taking a vacation on the island of relevancy or whatever. He's off doing Hollywood or whatever, diba? Which is ironically the story ng My Rice Mode sa 2K24 right now, and it's they instead of doing all of that and showing me yung build up, which they would do on NXT, by the way, because NXT takes the time to tell these long form stories, as we mentioned a couple of weeks ago. They skipped right over to Solo declaring his own bloodline and then taking Heyman by surprise. Diba? Parang, I get it. I'm okay with it. I just wanted to build up to that point. And I feel like they didn't do that. So now I don't, like Chino, I don't fully buy Solo as the new leader kasi yun nga, naging secure nga siya na ano, sabi ni Aaron, naging secure siya na naging boss bigla kasi
Yun.
namatay yung boss. Parang ganun.
Yeah, yun. That's a closer analogy. There you go.
So I would have wanted to see the progression. There is a progression, or at least the deliberation, the spark moment that would have seen Solo realize that, okay, I can take over now. Instead, they just while I understand that power plays like that probably do happen like that, na ganun kabilis, it just was too sudden for me, and I still don't see Solo as my tribal chief. Is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, parang basically, one day sa office nila, siya lang yung pumasok. Yung secure lang yung pumasok. Tapos sabi niya, oh yes, wala. Ako, boss na ako. Ako lang yung pumasok today. Di ba? Parang hindi naman eh. It doesn't really work that way. But to him, it does, apparently.
Yeah, give me something like, okay, Heyman says, guys, Roman is missing. The tribal chief is missing. We need someone to take over.
He literally had the I am the captain now moment kay Paul Heyman.
Yeah. No, but that's in I'm saying they didn't have the whole storm to find the whatever is going to be replacing whoever is going to be replacing Roman. Yes naman, okay lang naman na eventually Solo would be the captain. I just needed them to get there in a manner that I could comprehend. Diba? Yun nga, sinasabi ni Chino, bigla lang siya pumasok kasi bigla na siya naging boss kasi walang ibang pumasok na boss.
But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments about this whole comparison between Solo's bloodline and Roman's bloodline as we get to the point that all of you probably came for tonight. Whoop that Trick! The new NXT champion is Trick Willie, and he main evented Spring Break in Night 1 alongside Ilya Dragunov. The last 15 minutes were for them to have that quick sprint of a match. Tapos ang daming NXT alumni who came by and offered words of advice, or they endorsed Trick Williams in a backstage segment, from New Cat Republic to Johnny Gargano. And even Damian Priest showed up and acknowledged Trick Williams. Diba? So, or did he acknowledge Ilya? One of them. So what did you think of how they used Spring Break and all of those NXT alumni to really make this main event match, and by extension Trick's championship win, a big deal?
If it wasn't clear already by the time the main event rolled around the Trick was gonna win, you might be pretty obtuse here, because everyone who came back to NXT said, Trick, you gotta win. I picked Trick to win. And I don't think I heard anyone pick Ilya to win. So they literally offered you the result on a silver platter. And there was a few spots during the match that might have hinted toward Ilya winning. Kasi yun nga, Ilya wins, lol. But they did a good job. I wish they didn't. I wish we didn't, take minutes away from the match by having Baron Corbin versus Lexis King. But that's neither here nor there now. Maganda yung match. It was only 15 minutes bell to bell. sorry, segment beginning to end, right? And they really sprinted through that match. But Ilya loves that kind of setup. He loves that kind of he loves that much minutes. You know, yung part na he has to wrestle a huge match in only that amount of time, and he made it work. He made it look like a war, and I believe the trick was a legit looking champion by the end of it. Like medyo ninakaw nila yung spot with Ospreay and Danielson. They should have known better than to do it, but also it made sense because the finisher in Ilya was a headbutt, right? And finisher in a trick was a knee. So naturally, that was also where it was going to be headed. It just so happened that Will and Dragon did the same thing. But I like this match. I like this a lot. The sort of naman niya, I wish it was on a bigger stage like a PLE, but this tells me then, or this tells all of us then, that Ilya's getting drafted this week or next week.
Oh yeah, definitely. About time too for Ilya to be called up. Ang dami din nagsasabi, di ba, nung before he even made his appearance post WrestleMania na dapat nasa main roster na siya. So I'm glad that we're getting to see that for Ilya Dragunov. I'm also glad that this adds another wrinkle to the Trick Mello storyline that still has yet to be resolved, di ba? Siyempre dyan si Mello, maaligid pa siya up to this point. So having the title there in play is just another layer to this storyline. I'm pretty sure will play out in a PLE down the road. But for Trick Williams to win the big one, congratulations to him. I think very well deserved. Hindi ko in-expect, honestly, nung nagsimula yung episode na mananalo siya. But when the episode finished, it all worked out for me. So I'm very happy that that's how it turned out.
Can we just take a moment to let this fun fact sink in? Trick Williams is the only person to have defeated Ilya Dragunov for a championship. And this dude has had 2 long-ass championship runs, albeit on NXT, but still 2 long-ass championship runs.
Yeah. I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. And I super overdo na nga diba? So, if NXT was going to be the third brand, he would have been a perfect fit. But also, it so happens that he's been in NXT for years, for half a decade, around thereabout. Diba? So it's time for him to do something else and actually be recognized as part of the main roster.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, let's head on over to the main roster and talk about this supposed new faction na binabalita ngayon ng mga wrestling reporters. And it could very well be the equivalent of Team Angle in the 2020s. So, meron mga rumors and reports na the Creed brothers are set to align with Chad Gable to form a new heel faction. And sometime last week, nung lumabas yung balita, nag-tweet ng ganito si Julius Creed. So, sort of kind of hinting on what people have been reporting. Chino, what do you make of this?
That gets this. I didn't see this actually. I'm not on Twitter as much anymore. But when I saw Gable's promo and he called the Alpha Academy a bunch of losers, doon ko na feel na iiwan na yung Alpha Academy. Called them like he was wasting time training a bunch of losers. Diba? Parang galing yung sinabi niya. So I had a feeling that Chad Gable. We were asking this question last week too about what would happen to the rest of Alpha Academy. I have a feeling that this is where it was going to go. Especially ngayon na nagsabi si Julius Creed ng ganito. Maybe he's just teasing us, taking us on a ride here, pero sana hindi because the Creeds are incredible athletes. And we've talked about it time and again on the pod. And see Chad Gable, also an incredible athlete. And the thing that he's been missing is the legitimacy sort of that comes with his amateur background. And I think with the Creeds there to back him up, mas lalamang yung quote-unquote wrestling nila than with Alpha Academy.
Yeah, I just wish he didn't spoil himself. But no, I like this. You're right. Team Angle of the 2020s is right, and I want to see this. It just sucks that they couldn't do it with the current Alpha Academy, which I guess was always supposed to be a comedy bit. So yeah, it's another unit to be added. But I think the Creeds someone deserve to be with someone who is also being rocket strapped at this point.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's move on to the next topic we've got for tonight, and that is Giovanni Vinci getting kicked out of Imperium. So medyo connected to actually to the Ilya Dragunov call up in the draft, because some people are probably thinking na okay, Vinci's out. Does that open a spot for Ilya Dragunov? Is this something you guys want? Or if you don't want to talk about Ilya Dragunov being in Imperium because you don't want to manifest it, what do you think is the reason why they had to remove Vinci from Imperium in the first place?
Di ko rin alam eh. God, the only reason really is because the draft is coming up and Dragunov is coming up. And we did get reports before, like I think around a few months back, I think, that Dragunov was being considered for Imperium. So, uh, I that's the only thing I see, and I don't want it kasi hindi siya ano eh. Hindi siya pang chowariwap na ano eh, na role eh, diba? Yeah. It's weird. I know that Triple H doesn't see him as a second to Gunther, right? So I don't know. I don't know why kick Vinci out. It boggles me as well.
Ako din, I don't have a good answer for it. I was very surprised that they did it too. Like, if anything, mas inexpect ko na upakan ni Gunther yung dalawa and then just like, fuck Imperium
Oo nga.
on my own.
Yun pa.
Diba? Mas nag-make sense yun eh, diba? Kasi natatalo sila eh. And then, he feels like he's dragging they're dragging him along with them, diba? So, parang hindi ko din na-gets kung bakit out of the two, si Vinci yung nasipa. It doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll try to dig into this a little bit more, and we'll also talk about the WWE draft. But first, a quick word from our other podcasts right here on the Pod Network. So, okay, Giovanni Vinci gets kicked out of Imperium. You also have Alpha Academy imploding. And then the Judgment Days, they're also teasing some sort of implosion or breakup. So what do you think of all of these units on Raw going through, all of this dissension?
Yeah, we're supposed to talk about this audio only. But, okay, sige. We're up here now. It's a downside of having too many people and having so many units, so many teams, so deep a bench na wala kang magagawa but to naturally tell all of these stories at the same time. This is also where editing comes in, diba? Triple H is a good editor, but at this point, because he is determined to push so many people, and try to be equitable with airtime and exposure, diba? Talagang ganito. But I do hope that he exercised a little more restraint. Kasi everyone is turning, everyone's breaking up. That's not a good look. I think we could have waited a few more. We didn't have to fire all of these at the same time.
I think kaya din nila ginawa because of the draft being there. Maybe to ease the blow of any sort of shakeup that might happen. Diba, remember when the New Day got drafted, nahiwalay si Becky from the rest of the New Day. So, I think this way, they might be teasing, I don't know who, can't say right now, but they might be teasing people being drafted away from their stable. Diba? Kung mangyayari man yun, then it I guess it makes more sense, diba, for them to proceed with any sort of breakup for any of these teams that they're teasing.
Mm-hmm. All right. All of this depth sa talent pool will come to the surface din naman when we have the WWE draft, which goes live this weekend sa SmackDown, and it will continue on next Tuesday on Monday Night Raw. So, kanina pagising natin, WWE already posted yung rules for the draft along with the talent pool for both SmackDown and Raw. So you can see them on your screen right now. And all the champions are apparently protected. So if you're holding a title belt other than the women's tag team champions, you are safe from the draft. So yung women's tag team champions lang yung eligible. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways. Another takeaway is Jimmy Uso is not in the draft pool for either night kasi he's reportedly injured. So I believe it was either Brian Alvarez or Fightful Select na nag-report na may injury si Jimmy Uso. No known timetable, undisclosed injury din siya. So yun yung mga big news bits about the draft heading into this weekend.
I don't want to predict the draft anymore. I think it's fine naman we see we get surprised rather kasi I feel like I'm at a point na okay naman ako with how both shows are being run and how the rosters are being utilized. So kasi if you, let's say you move a bunch of people to, you make them switch brands, chances are they're still gonna get the airtime that they're getting now, diba? It's not like before na I'd move this guy to Raw or move this guy to SmackDown because once they do, I'm sure that's when Vince is gonna give them more airtime or giving them a push, diba? But because the Triple H era, the Paul Levesque era is so equitable, parang patas na yung laban. Diba? It's only a matter of, okay, when somebody moves from SmackDown to Raw, they're going to get more match time because the show is 3 hours. Whereas on SmackDown, they're trying to rush everything because they only have 1.5 hours of actual airtime. So I'm open to being surprised. I don't know. Lalo na the champions are staying. Diba? The champions are locked in. So I don't really see how big the shakeup is going to be outside of NXT guys moving up and then people moving down to NXT.
Sana wala na mag-draft kay Gable Stevenson. Sana wala na tayong ganun. Kasi sayang sayang na pick. Nagtapon ka ng pick diba? Diba? 1 year ka nag-hantay.
Yeah.
Sa ginawa. Sayang talaga, man. But no, I am with Royer. I am open to being surprised. For all we know, somebody drafts MJF. We don't know. We can't really say, diba? Pero it would be nice to have something of that magnitude happen during one of the drafts because I love the drafts and I especially, tulad na sinabi ko last episode, love Survivor Series. So the effect this will have on Survivor Series, which is a few months away, it actually is going to be pretty significant.
Okay, we probably won't get MJF in the draft, but binalita rin na nakapirma na ng WWE contract si Jacob Fatu. So what if either Nick Aldis or Adam Pearce in one of their selections go out and say, my show selects Jacob Fatu?
Ava would pick that. I'm sure Ava would.
Yeah, probably. I mean, people... at the end of the day, all the Samoans, Tongans, and what have yous are gonna end up in the bloodline anyway. Hindi nga natin in-expect na si Tama Tonga bloodline No, diba? So what's to stop Jacob Fatu from suddenly just being another bloodline member? Absolutely nothing. So,
but I mean, if they do that, people are gonna be like, sino tong si Jacob Fatu? Like, yes, he's a Fatu. Ano to? Anak ni Rikishi? Anak ni Umaga? Diba? They're still gonna be like, the broader WWE fan base, yung mga Ninang Abis of the world, will still ask who Jacob Fatu is, right? Other than the fact that he's clearly a Fatu. No, I mean, tell me when I'm telling lies.
Yeah, tama naman.
Oh, yun, si Jasper, tama. NXT picks Julia or whatever.
Yeah,
I think si Julia, napakita na sa TV, diba?
Yeah. I agree, yeah. If NXT drafts Julia, magandang pop yan.
Yeah, but then again, it's a foregone conclusion. Like, if NXT were to pick someone, I'd rather it be somebody who will actually be a shock. Like, I need it for the shock value as opposed to it being a foregone conclusion. Alam mo yun?
Yeah.
But who you ka? Who you si Jacob Fatu?
All right, we have a couple minutes here before we wind down. I just want to ask for your opinions on Becky Lynch winning the Women's World Championship because in the days since the Battle Royal happened on Raw, Becky's been catching some heat from people on social media. So, what do you think of people saying, "Oh, Becky Hogan" or "Becky wins"? Lol.
Okay, I watched Raw last night. I finished Raw last night. And I kind of understand. Gets ko kung bakit galit yung mga tao. Because the Women's Battle Royal was actually so good. It was really, really executed well. And a lot of women got to look really good because of their kasi they were edited to look really good in the limited minutes that they got. And then Nia Jax and Liv Morgan were built up so well to the point that if either of those two girls won, everyone would have been okay with it. Even Nia Jax, everyone would have been okay with Nia Jax. Which is a huge turnaround from how they felt about her when she first came back last year. So the fact that they went to Becky again, while sensible from on paper, diba, on a booking standpoint, because she is still the best you've got, I do understand how it was a missed opportunity. Pero at this point, why would you give Becky heat? Kasi it's not like she booked herself to win the match, diba? It's not like she threatened Triple H to book her as the winner, or else I don't know, maglalabas siya ng baho about him, diba? So
Hindi naman siya EVP eh.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like she was threatening Triple H to be disarmed, diba? So let's leave Becky alone. But at the same time, you guys know that all of this is just gonna push Becky to be the man again, and then she's gonna entertain you with her mean tweets, her strong Twitter game that was the OG Drew McIntyre before Drew McIntyre became a Twitter troll. And then when that happens, you're just gonna cheer for Becky again because you are easily entertained by Becky. So parang napaka-predictable nyo naman. Ang dali nyo i-manipulate that way. So you know she's gonna make you cheer her again, right? So why waste all this time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still of the argument na dapat siya yung nanalo no WrestleMania.
Yeah, okay.
So I agree with this win, even though it's a little belated. So again, nandiyan din yung argument ni Liv and Inaya and everybody else diba, who threw their hat in this race. But I feel like for this, it makes sense for Becky kasi ang feeling ko tatalo sa kanya is a person who turns heel. Might be Liv, might be somebody else. Diba? But at the end of the day, she's just there to fill a part gap left by Rhea Ripley, diba? Because we are not going to be able to get that big, almost bloodline-esque storyline with Ripley, with her dominant reign. Kasi unfortunately, tapos siya with injury. So the next best thing is to have somebody like Becky, pure face champion, established champion, drop the title to somebody who is on the up and up. Who that is, I can't really say right now.
Liv, probably just Liv.
And besides,
just, watch her.
People are complaining so much about Becky being champ again when they forget na it's been 2 years since Becky Lynch has been world champion.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Yeah, Carla's right. The Raw women's division, while really deep, is also not quite deep when it comes to star power. Like they could easily take someone and build them up, pero safe pa rin. It's nice to go with someone safe who knows who can bring out great matches with a lot of people. But at the same time, I get it. A lot of other people, a few people were ready, and I thought that was a good time to try an experiment. Lalo na kung new era nga. Gets ko naman yung gripe na yan.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that's the wrestling talk for this week. As we wind down, we're going to get to some plugs. So, Chino, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
So the Class Clown podcast turns 4 in just a week. I'm up in all the promo I can do for this, and I'm doing
Happy
a
anniversary, Chino.
Thank you. Na-discover ko lang the other day na hindi ko pa pala kina-claim yung podcast ko sa Spotify. So, very good podcasting on my end. But I have, and I'm promoting it. Yes, definitely. Follow me for more advice. But definitely tune in to the Class Clown podcast. We're dropping a new episode every Friday. Matatapos na yung season number 4. This Friday, I have Nathan Munayer of Neshwe, the shawarma restaurant that actually fed the
Hey.
shawarma last year's anniversary natin. So he has been a long time restaurateur, famous around the UP Maginhawa food scene, and he talks to me about doing food, Arabic food, especially in the Philippines, how he got his start, and how he also started doing stand up as well. Also, Nathan, along with my other friends from this season, are part of a very special show to celebrate my 4th year anniversary. It's the Class Clown Podcast 4th year anniversary special featuring me along with other comedians I had on this season. For tickets, please go to www.comedymanila.ph. That's on May 4, Wicked Dogs BGC.
All right. Ro, ikaw naman.
Unmasked is not yet coming back, unfortunately. Please,
Pasang
please
puta.
go back. Please go Badger able to finally fucking go and buy his mic so that we can record remotely. Jesus Christ. Siya lang ang cost of the day. So, yun lang. But Republica is on sale right now. Please head over to ManilaWrestlingFederation.helixpay.ph to go get tickets. Big main event. It's a 3-way for the MWF Pinoy Wrestling Championship. JDL, Main Max, and Fabio Makisig going to be at the UP Bahay ng Alumni, our old stomping grounds. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Go check that out.
All right. For me naman, go check out yung 92.3 True FM, the Facebook page. They've got something going on with Arena Plus, which I'm helping them out with tomorrow. So I'm going to be part of the Fast Break Sports Update, something new we're trying out. And if you catch the PBA games on the smart live stream, whether on the website or on the app, I am calling San Miguel versus Magnolia tomorrow night with Coach Ryan Gregorio. Then on Saturday night, I'm doing Converge versus Barangay Ginebra San Miguel. So that's where you can hear me next. Of course, we got to say thank you to everybody who joined the podcast once again. Thank you for catching us and making us a part of your weekly wrestling diet. Thank you to everybody who joined Quiz Night nung Saturday and everyone who came to hang out. And thank you so much to Babyface producer Jasper and everyone over at the Pod Network for all of the work and help that they do for us behind the scenes. We'll catch you next week for our picks of the week and weekend reactions, as well as another live stream of the Wrestling podcast. Make sure to follow us on social media. It is at Wrestling2X Pod for the show, at Wrestling Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Spotify. Individually, it is at Chino Supersized, at Rois War, at EML_Meister, at Monday Night Rowan, and at _Stan C. For Chino Liao and Ro Moran and our co-hosts Emil Nate and Rowan ASH, my name is Stan C, saying stay safe, stay healthy and hydrated, and don't be a dick. Wrestling Podcast. Out later, Outcasts.
Peace.